In this lecture, we are going to create a block for the authentication modal. Sounds strange, right? Why aren't we using the header tools block? That's a good question. It's not uncommon to ask the user to log in based on various actions. For example, we can ask the user to log in if they click on the login link. What if a user is purchasing a product without logging in? We should display the login form to them. There are various actions that can be performed by the user to cause our site to prompt them to log in. If we were to add the modal to the header tools block, clients would be forced to add this block to every page. They may not want to use this block. We should decouple the modal from the header tools block by creating a separate block for rendering the modal. This way, the modal can be opened with alternative blocks or elements. Let's get started. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a link to a gist with starter files for our project. Inside the source/blocks directory, create a folder called auth-modal for storing the blocks files. Next, create the files from this gist into the new directory with their respective code. Pause the video and give it a try. Good luck. Welcome back. Hopefully, you are able to create the files. Let's review the files together. Starting with the block.json file, we have a typical block file. Inside the attributes object, I added an attribute called showRegister. Registering an account will be optional. If a client does not want users to register a new account, we should disable the registration form. The data type for this attribute is a Boolean. The default value has been set to true. Let's move on to the index.js file. Inside this file, we are importing the usual components for building a block. Since we have an attribute, we are going to add options to the sidebar. At the top of the edit function, we are destructuring the attributes object for the showRegister function. Inside the templates of the block, we are not rendering the modal. Instead, a message will be rendered. By default, the modal is hidden. I don't think there's a point in displaying the modal from the editor. Trying to add interactive elements from the full site editor can be tricky. Rather than trying to fight with Gutenberg, we are going to tell the user a live demo can be previewed from the front end. After creating these files, let's register the block. Open the registerblocks.php file. Inside the blocks array, add another array. Inside the blocks options, add the name key with a value of auth-modal. We are going to be using server-side rendering for our block. Let's add the options array for defining a render callback function. The name of the function will be called upAuthModal render CB. After registering our block, let's define the function for rendering the block. Inside the blocks directory, create a file called authmodal.php. Define the upAuthModal render CB function. Great, our block should be ready. Let's try testing the block by adding it to a page. Inside the browser, refresh the experimental page. Next, insert the authentication modal block to the page. As expected, the message from our block appears. It's telling the user that they should view the front end for logging in. The next step is to update the attributes. In the next lecture, let's begin toggling the registration form with the toggle control component.